Hey everybody, this is Eve West. Thank you for tuning in to my YouTube channel. This channel is dedicated to promoting a book I wrote. It's called Follow. It's an ebook. You can find it on Amazon.com under the Kindles tab. And I deal with a holistic view of spirituality and looking at it not just from a purely conceptual, but also an earthly aspect of us, who we are, such as, as you can see, taste, touch, smell, and hear. And so I look at the various controversial topics that we're usually shunned, from talking about within spiritual circles, but they're also very integral to who we are as a Christ or a human being. Humans are both spiritual and earthly, so we're not just etheric, such as love and, those intangible aspects of us, but we're also, physical. And so I talk about race and money, and, I talk about sex. And how those aspects of us are, the masculine aspects of us, how they're used against us within this environment. And I talk about how, they work to disintegrate the mind, or I should say they're used against us to disintegrate our minds. And I look at the various constructs of the matrix that are designed to do that, such as media entertainment, the government structure, education, the familial structure, religion, how all these various constructs are designed to disintegrate the mind. And so it oscillates between the microcosm of my personal life and the macrocosm of the world at large. So I really strongly suggest that you check out Follow, because Follow is not information that you're going to get really anywhere else. I haven't seen the information anywhere else, but maybe you have. And if you have, please, send me a comment, because I really would like to get with like-minded people. Because, when you start to vibrate higher within the matrix, you undergo a lot of psychological torture, such as gang stalking. And so I'm definitely seen as a divergent within my community. It could be in public places, in my dwelling. It's everywhere. And so, even online, on my YouTube, I'm seen as a divergent. And so, I really would like to get with like-minded people, who actually share in the type of esoteric knowledge that I put out there, because it's very difficult to do this alone and do it by yourself. And so I really want to talk a lot about censorship. I want to talk about censorship because, things have been brought into my awareness, into the forefront, about, shutting up Christ beings, a divergence, what have you, so you don't really put the information out there, and demonizing us. At no time have I ever, said on my channel that I hate Christians or hate a particular group of people, what have you. Never have I done that, but I do talk about race and religion and sex and things like that in an esoteric way that does not feel good to an ego. Does not feel good to an ego. And so, we're so identified with our egos in this reality. When you go to sleep at night, you're not a woman, you're not a man, you're not a Christian or Gentile, whatever you want to call it, rich, poor, black, white, you're nobody. And so when you die, you go back to being nothing. And so everything within this reality, you're given your religion, you're given your gender, you're given your race, you're given your nationality, you're given all of these various things. The various constructs of the matrix, they shape you into something, even your careers and things like that. That's something that you were made into. It is not something that is innate to you. And so, when someone's mentioning something about race, for example, and it ruffles your feathers as an ego, it has nothing to do with the person who's talking about it. You just feel upset that someone is putting light on something that makes you feel bad. And so I should not, the things that I say should not be stifled because you're taking them in a certain way, if that makes sense. Like for example, I make the case on my channel that, I talk about race. And race is a very sensitive topic within our matrix environment. I always make the case. I say, if race, if we all bleed red and so forth, and race didn't matter, why do you have to disclose your race if you go to the hospital? Why do you have to disclose your race if you go to the DMV? Why do you have to disclose your race if you, your gender, if you go to get a job? If they really didn't matter. If they really didn't matter, you have a social security number, so they should be able to identify you. It's not for identification purposes, really, technically. So, the point I'm trying to make is that there's something about race they're not telling us. And I'm like everybody else in the matrix as an ego. We all bleed red. We all go to the same, establishments and shop at the same establishments. We all have the same types of religions. We all, we all watch the same types of movies and television programs and things like that. There's I mean, really, to be honest with you, we're pretty much the same. And so at the atomic level. And so as an ego or a slave, that's how I feel as well, like everybody else. But when you look at the esoteric significance of race and how it's connected to melanin, and melanin is connected to your pineal gland, you see that every time you reincarnate, your melanin gets taken out of you. Your melanin gets taken out. And so until you actually assume a super duper blonde hair and super duper blue-eyed race, what they call a master race, and this goes back to Nazi Germany. And so the reason why Hitler preferred a master race is because it's a race absent of melanin. The Aryan race is a race absent of melanin because a master governs you. You have no pineal gland, I guess what you say, function, if you will, because the pineal gland, known as the third eye, if you look at New Age, it tells you the third eye gives you your insight. So you don't really have insight. I mean, we've all heard the term dumb blonde. I'm not making this stuff up. If you have half of a brain, then you'll be able to see the connection. Why are people who are blonde called dumb blondes? Why are they called dumb? I'm just making this up. This is funny. So, you know, when someone who's blonde hears this, they may say, oh my gosh, she's calling me dumb. And that's not what I'm saying. I'm just trying to get you to think about things and look at something such as race and what we've been told about race in a different light. Now, if you get offended by that, that's totally up to you. And really, in most people, most white folks, you know, if you're born blonde and blue-eyed, typically your melanin kicks in. The black aspect of you kicks in and it gets darker. So, you know, most people walking around here are not blonde hair and blue eye. They have to dye their hair blonde and dye their or wear contacts or what have you. Very small fraction of the population is that. So from a superficial standpoint. So given that, you know, this is connected to your pineal gland. They don't have enough research, right, to really make a educated you know, commentary about the pineal gland, but you know, they know everything else about our bodies except for the pineal gland. That makes no sense. So there's something fishy about this. And so as a Christ being, I'm here in this channel talking about esoteric information and getting you to think, and so in getting you to think, if you will, and to actually see for you, because you can't have, you know, from an esoteric standpoint, a Jew, someone who has the intersecting triangles of the feminine and the masculine. I'm not talking about Jews in terms of race and religion. I'm talking about a Jew in terms of the energy that you possess, okay? So when I talk about Jews, guys, don't think I'm talking about, you know, Israel per se. But, you know, I'm talking about the esoteric meaning behind Israel. And so Israel really is you. You know, you're a Jew. Isis and Ra separated by El. You know, Isis would be Eve in Christian theology, and Ra would be Adam in Christian theology, and El would be the Garden of Eden, or an environment of paradise, because the mind is disintegrated by this matrix environment, which is Eden, things that we can see but we can't have. You know, and so it creates a separation because it creates a wishful mind, because we don't have the sacral ability to ground our desires into physicality. And so, you know, what I'm really trying to point out here is that, you know, the information that I give is very esoteric. It's not something you're going to hear. The information that I access, people, I guess, you know, from a superficial standpoint, would consider me to be a psychic. They would consider me to be a psychic because I can access information and put information together from other realms. And so when I say realms, I mean other aspects of the mind. Going back to Lucy in the movie Lucy, which stands for Lucifer, actually, a light bearer, a bearer of light. She's able to access information. She's like, I don't know what to do with it. You start to be able to access information, you don't know what to do with it. Literally. But to share it, pass it down, pass the information down. And so, you know, that's really my job. My job is just to give information, but this whole matrix environment is upheld by lies and illusions. And so that's why, you know, I've been threatened with censorship, although I've never said anything against anyone's religion or race. You know, that's why I'm threatened with being shut up, pretty much. I've had comments where I've responded with esoteric information to people when they talk about the Bible, because they get offended, you know, if I talk about the Bible or what have you. But the Bible, you know, was given, or not given, but was taught to slaves. Think about it. Slaves were in bondage, and their slave masters did not want them to get out of bondage, but they were taught the Bible. That should make you think right then and there. And so, you know, for you, the Bible may be the best thing since sliced bread. And if that's the case, then more power to you. But when I look at the Bible and how it's programmed with it, and now that my pineal gland is open, I see it not from a slave point of view just, but I also see it from a master's point of view. How a master actually disseminates this information to a slave. And so I see it how the Freemasons see it. The Freemasons actually are the creators of our reality, and they created all of the monotheistic religions. Think to yourself, if your religion was right, why would we have so many of them? Why we have so many different denominations? That doesn't seem to be a little fishy to you? Okay, well, I understand you're dumbed down by the Matrix, you know, in terms of, you know, a lot of different things. But the thing is, for me, if I see that there's so many different religions, I know that there's one true God, then there must be something wrong. There's something more to the story here, as opposed to saying, okay, the way I feel is right. You know, why is it the way that you feel is right and the way that I feel is wrong, or the way that I feel is right and the way that you feel is wrong? Why not think to yourself, this is the totality of existence, and so wrong is right and right is wrong? Why can't we think in terms of, you know, that ideology per se, or that concept? And so, you know, the thing I'm trying to do is to really get people to think, you know, to get people to think, to step outside the box, to step outside the reptilian brain, and to really value the things that are not innate to you. You know, I promise you, when you go to another realm, you're not going to be Christian. In fact, if you look at the word Christian, the suffix Christian, or the suffix IAN in Christian, means a variant of Christ. And so that is suggesting that Christianity, to be Christian, is unholy. It means a part of, or a variant of. That's what IAN means. So since Christian means a variant of Christ, don't get angry with me, because that's what the research shows. You know, it is unholy. You're just focused on your spiritual as opposed to your earthly. And so, you know, as a Christian, you may get upset. How dare she? You know, because you're an ego, right? You love Christianity, something that was given to you. Your next lifetime, you'll be Jewish. To your next lifetime, you'll be Buddhist. Your next lifetime, you'll be Muslim, whatever. But this lifetime, you know, you're very much like, oh my gosh, she said something about Christian, and I love Jesus and WWJD. Okay, that's fine for you, but I'm going to share the knowledge I have, and the knowledge I have for you is that the suffix IAN means a variant of, and so Christian technically means a variant of Christ. It is not Christ. It's a part of. Christ is both spiritual and earthly. So if that's something that I'm saying that you disagree with, guess what? You don't have to be on this channel. You can turn it off. You can say, you know what? She's saying something that I don't agree with, and so therefore I don't want to listen to that, or what have you. There's really no reason to demonize it. And you know what? If you demonize it, that's fine with me too. You can say, you know what? You are loony. You know, Jesus died for my sins, and I love Jesus, and I talked to him last night. You know, he sat next to me, and, you know, he prayed with me, and we read, you know, these scriptures together, or what have you. Now, if that's you, that's fine. And you can even share that with me, because, you know, I don't really see this existence in terms of circumcising myself. I grew up Christian, so yes, a part of me is Christian. But I also, you know, have woken up, and so I realized that Christianity is based on Egyptian and Greek mythology. So, you know, if you're just playing one aspect of yourself and you like to circumcise yourself and just be one aspect, that's fine. But me, I don't prefer to circumcise myself. I actually deserve, if you will, to embody my divinity. And so my divinity is actually shows how smart I am, and actually shows how these religions came into being. And so as a God, I am able to do that. So, or to realize that. And so, you know, I don't want to be demonized for being a Christ, just like you don't want to be demonized for being a Christian. And so, as a result, we should be able to say how we feel about whatever. You should be able to say what you want to say about my channel and about my explanations for things, and not feel threatened by them. You know, not feel threatened by them. Just to be able to say what you want to say, and we just have a conversation. I'm all about just having a conversation, but the whole purpose is to actually destroy that and to make it to where we can't have a conversation about things. Just like A Course in Miracles, I talk about how A Course in Miracles worked to dissociate me, and it almost drove me absolutely insane. And so, since I've been and just to give validity to the notion that there's an agenda to censor me, I want to put light on something. Because when I looked at YouTube, they took down one of their Ken Wapnick's videos on A Course in Miracles, because Ken Wapnick will tell you he's told you before that, you know, A Course in Miracles, you know, he's told you before that, you know, A Course in Miracles students, they oftentimes are very crazy. You know what I mean? Like they don't respond in very, I would say, you know, normal types of ways. Like they'll bring balloons and stuff like that, or champagne or something like that, he said, to a funeral. You know, so they don't respond appropriately to situations because they've dissociated. They don't believe in the world. The world is real. And so here you see that one of the videos gets taken. It looks like it was taken down right here. And this one, it says the world was over a long time, or it says this world was over long ago. Q&A, this world was over a long time ago. And so I'm not sure if they actually put this video back up, but when I looked at it, it looked like it was taken down. And I've been focusing, you know, on A Course in Miracles and how it actually dissociates you. And so that's very strange. Why has it, you know, since I've been talking about A Course in Miracles, all of a sudden that video, you know, is it's not functioning right. You know, it's not functioning correctly. So, you know, it teaches you, A Course in Miracles teaches you dissociation. It teaches you dissociation. And so the whole agenda for the Christ is to make you out to be crazy and incarcerate you, to make a case against you, because you jeopardize the system. And so I want to put light on this, and, you know, and put light on the fact that I talk about things like race, you know, I talk about things like religion. You know, many women within religion are shunned for their bodies. You know, you have to, you know, some women have to wear burqa, you know, and so I made the case of, you know, that's fine, you can do whatever you want to do for yourself, but, you know, why is it that we have to cover up a part of ourselves that, you know, we can't change? I can't change my body, I can't change my race, you know, stuff like this. You know, you shouldn't, you know, have to cover up, as far as I'm concerned. You know, now if you feel that way, that's fine, but, you know, when I read articles on the BBC about women being beaten because they don't wear their burqa correctly, to me, there's something wrong with that. There's something wrong with it. And if you don't see that, then that's, for me, for my opinion, because I have the right to say my opinion, it's inhumane. It's inhumane. And so, you know, people don't really want to understand, but our religions, and nobody really, very seldom, well, I don't even know anybody who follows Christianity. That goes to show you that Christian means a variant or a part of Christ, because, you know, it makes you focus on the spiritual instead of the earthly. And so, you know, when you look at certain scriptures that people don't adhere to, like it says 1 Timothy 2:9, in 1 Timothy it says likewise, wait a second. It says likewise also that women should adorn themselves in respectable apparel with modesty and self-control, and not with braided hair and gold or pearls or costly attire. But when women go to church, you know, that's all we go to church with, right? You know, we adorn ourselves. In fact, if you don't adorn yourself, then, you know, people will look at you crazy, like, why did you come to church? You know, well, I can't say all churches are like that, because I've been to some churches where you can dress down, but, you know, many churches traditionally, you know, when I was growing up and I was Christian, you put on your best to see the Lord. You know, you had to put on your best, I guess, because you were filthy inside, I guess. You know, I don't know. So you want to look really good on the outside, but so, you know, you didn't have to really showcase the filth that's on the inside, maybe. You know, I don't know if that's the rationale, but you have to cover up. You know, you have to cover up the body, put on makeup, put on earrings, you know, put on nice clothes and things like that. Do your hair really nice. You have to do those things because, you know, the body is sinful, so you got to dress it up, I suppose. I don't know if that was the rationale, but, you know, hey, I'm just really trying to have a conversation about why is it that we have to adorn ourselves. But, you know, on the flip side of that, you know, it's natural. You know, it's natural to adorn yourself because this is physical. We're in physicality. We're fed within our consciousness all the time, you know, all this materialism, and so why not, you know? It really shows when you do adorn yourself, from my point of view, that you're holy. You're holy. You're not just spiritual, but you're also physical. And so when you look at certain scriptures, such as 1 Timothy 2:11-12, let a woman learn quietly with all submissiveness. I do not permit a woman to teach or to exercise authority over a man. Rather, she is to remain quiet. You know, there are plenty of women that have, ministries within the church. But that's not what it says here. It says that a woman should remain quiet. We don't see Joyce Myers getting up and talking about this. Did Joyce Myers talk about 1 Timothy 2:11-12? Let a woman learn quietly with all submissiveness. I do not permit a woman to teach or to exercise authority over a man. Rather, she is to remain quiet. But she's teaching. Why is she not following the doctrine? This is in your Bible. It's in the Bible. 1 Corinthians 14:34-35. The woman should keep silent in the church, for they are not permitted to speak, but should be in submission, as the law also says, if there is anything that desire to learn, if there is anything they desire to learn, let them ask their husbands at home, for it is shameful for a woman to speak in church. Really? I don't see T.D. Jakes talking about this. I don't see Joyce Myers talking about this. I don't see Joel Osteen, talking about these verses or whatever. They don't talk about these verses. They don't touch them. I wonder why. Yeah. One thing about it, the regular sheeple, we've got jobs, right? That's why I'm retired. We've got jobs, and so we don't have time to really read the Bible for ourselves. So they know you're not going to really see these scriptures. You go to church so people can talk to you about the Bible. They can tell you about it like a slave. That's how slaves learn the Bible. They couldn't read it, so their slave masters picked out little scriptures so they could hear it. And when you hear something, it goes past your frontal cortex, your pineal gland, and it goes into your temporal lobe where you don't catch everything. So a lot of what you're hearing is subconscious, is going into your subconscious mind. Hear me. You're a slave when you're hearing something. But when you actually read it and you have time to read it, you will come to discover that these are things that are put into your Bible that they are not able to be done by a human being. Because you're human, you're a Christ. A Christ is limitless. You're not supposed to be limited. If someone slaps you in the cheek, would you turn to them the other? And if you did, what would you say within yourself? You would be angry. That's Archon energy. You at least want to cuss them out or tell them off or say, why'd you do that? Or at least call the cops on them, right? Would you want to turn the other cheek? That's what your Bible says. That's what the Bible says. Turn the other cheek. So don't just slap me here, but slap me there. How would that make me feel in terms of my nature? Not spiritually, because, it's saying to be the peacemaker here. But really, when you're the peacemaker, you're banking Archon energy. And guess what? That angry person that you did not show to the world, guess what? That's a devil or a veil. That's an unconscious aspect of you that you've been conditioned and trained to neglect. And you will meet that person at a time of judgment at the end of your incarnation. So, I'm not supposed to be on YouTube saying these things to you. I'm not supposed to be talking about these things and getting people to think. That's just a little bit too much. So, since that's just a little bit too much for you, and really trying to disguise the illusions that uphold the matrix and so forth, I want to put light on it. I want you to share this channel, not because you believe in the information. In fact, you can share it and say, hey, I think this person is completely, bonkers, whatever the case is, and that's fine for me. But I want you to be able to share for the sake of censorship, because we should be able to talk about these things without people saying, you know what, shut up, don't say anything. To me, that's sad and that's sick. That we live in an environment that, does not want to expose the truth. Just like in that song Upgrade You by Beyonce, featuring her husband Jay-Z, it's that little glimpse of light that makes a diamond really shine. And so why would you want to, take away the apple of Eve? That's, why would you want to take away the apple of Eve and take away knowledge? So you could be just a reptilian brain, 5-finger, 5-pointed star pentagram, dummy, pretty much, I mean, really, what is that saying? Why are you taking away knowledge? What does that say about you? When you censor people like me, what does that say about you? Taking away knowledge. That shows that you're afraid. That's what it shows. It shows that you're afraid. You don't want to talk about these things. You actually demonize me for fear, but you're the one who's actually afraid. So show me that you carry a big stick, and that you actually have the audacity and the courage to sit in front of me and actually discuss these particular topics, if you will. I'm not saying anything is wrong. Everything is right. But, when you can't, talk about certain things, and you are sectioning things off as being right and being wrong and being just, then that's a problem. That's a serious problem. And so it's taking away our civil liberties, and really keeping us in bondage. So we never ever wake up, if you will, and we stay trapped within the matrix reincarnation system. So, I just wanted to point out those few little things, guys, and talk about censorship, so you can actually share my channel, just for the sake of trying to, keep our voices out there and keep our voices heard. So thanks, guys, for watching. I'll see you in my next video.